always find my target. Mess with the best, die like the rest.
Oops, I tripped and started dancing.
En mi cabeza no sales, puedo contar.
Bright spark, always take a chance. Hey, join my parade. Try me, I dare you. I'm stepping up, no more holding me back. Tell me, that's I am. I'm flying on my own. I know what feels just right, even if you're unsure. Go chase your own sunlight, poster girl, I'm on good vibes. And I get the last laugh. It's my world and you're all just living it. Can't wait to ride this wave again. I'm living loud, I don't pretend. There's no slowing down, I'm here to stay. And watch out, you're standing in my way. Yeah, I'm shaking the ground now. Oh, I'm shaking the ground now. And I'll be dancing till sundown. I'm living life so loud. Look at me shaking the ground now. Hey, it's time for an adventure. Oh yeah. Oops, I tripped and started dancing out in the rain. Bright lights, summer, never fuss, no pain. A list of happy moments I could fill up a frame. I'm sorry if you're missing out on my game. Hey, who said life needs a perfect plan? I lose control just cause it's how I am. But I'm a bright spark, always take a chance. Hey, join my parade. Try me, I dare you. I'm stepping up, no more holding me back. Tell me, that's I am. so witty, and with a smile I'll make you dizzy. Gonna go and spark some wonder, yeah, again. I won't retreat from the joy I pinch. Baby, it's my vibe, you're more than welcome in. I know what I want, come share with me, friend. Hey, who said life needs a perfect plan? I lose control just cause it's how I am. But I'm a bright spark, always take a chance. Join my parade. Try me, I dare you. I'm stepping up, no more holding me back. Down me, that's on you. I'm flying on my own. I know what feels just right, even if you're unsure. Go chase your own sunlight, post a girl, I'm on good vibes. And I get the last laugh. It's my world and you're all just living it. Can't wait to ride this wave again. I'm living loud, I don't pretend. There's no slowing down, I'm here to stay. And watch out, you're standing in my way. Yeah, I'm shaking the ground now.
Rated M for mature.
I always find my target.
Rated M for mature. Rated M for mature.
When it launched back in February of last year, Helldivers 2
Into the
was a
Unjust
viral
is
hit,
Helldiv-
far exceeding the expectations of its publisher Sony and developer Arrowhead. These guys that made the game, Arrowhead, not some major game studio. That at launch they had only about 120 developers, which got bumped up to around 130 after the game turned out to be a massive unexpected hit. The first Helldivers game was well reviewed and had a small but dedicated fan base, but the sequel blew past all expectations and went on to sell over 12 million copies. When it finally launched on Xbox at the end of August 2025, it sold nearly 1 million copies in a single week, significantly more than it sold on PlayStation consoles during its first week back in 2024. On the same day the game arrived on Xbox, Arrowhead revealed the latest content patch for the game, maybe the most significant one yet. I'm talking about the Into the Unjust update, and it brings some missions that alter the standard gameplay of Helldivers 2 in some pretty major ways. I'm talking about venturing into randomly generated cave systems brimming with bugs and a new mission type that involves driving a mobile rig around the map, collecting oil while fighting off swarms of bugs. These missions are all set on the new Hive worlds that are just about as dangerous and inhospitable as possible. For players that have in the past complained the game was getting too easy, this update is a major wake-up call. It's brutally challenging and all but requires divers to adjust their loadout to face these new threats. It's practically overwhelming, but it's meant to be. New enemies like the Dragon Roach rain down hellfire from the sky and soak up a ton of punishment. The most dangerous enemy in the game so far, the Hive Lord, was added with this update as well. The current success rates of these missions are actually pretty low, but I think, at least for now, that's the point. It's how the in-game story is meant to play out, and they want dealing with this new threat to be a big deal. Into the Unjust isn't the only major content update for Helldivers 2. Outside of all the usual war bonds and minor galactic warfare-related special major orders and limited time mission types, the game has also seen the addition of an entire new faction called the Illuminate and the introduction of the colonies, and thus missions set on colony worlds. This all came with the Omens of Tyranny content update, which launched back in December 13th of 2024. They've been slowly expanding the Illuminate faction since they were introduced last year, and eventually led into a limited event where they invaded the heart of humanity, Super Earth itself. Also, slowly expanding our subscribership, much slower than it should be. We know there's tons of you out there, and we know that you're not subscribed. What gives? I'm joking. I'm actually asking you for a big favor, that you click the subscribe button, because we appreciate it a lot. It helps us keep making these videos, but we gotta ask. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Even though the most recent update only expands on the Terminids, it doesn't go as far as to bring in an entirely alien race. But Into the Unjust might actually be the most significant shakeup in the game's history. The cave delving missions feel unlike anything else in the game so far. These are not the same semi-open world maps that make up the rest of the game. They're congested corridors that force players to engage with the game in a challenging new way. It's an exciting bit of fresh air for a game that, at least for hardcore players, was starting to get a little stale. It seems like a major point of this entire update is to address player complaints about the lack of mission variety, both the cave delves and the oil collection missions are just out of left field if you've been playing this game and you know what to expect at this point. They're also a really refreshing sign that the developers really are listening. And this is it's something that personally I would like to see more of, not just from them, but from everybody across the board. Every developer, every publisher, all of them. They've created some interesting mission variants in the past as limited time events related to the Galactic War, but these new mission types really shake up the standard Helldivers 2 experience in a way that just bringing in new enemies and terrain types doesn't. Colonies were something different to look at, sure, but these caves change things up way more than that. They're far more limiting in the way they allow you to act. Calling in stratagems is impossible when you're underground. The only places you can get support in is the spots where the caves open up and there's holes in the ceiling. You also better be sure to bring something with a flashlight because it can get very dark very quick. And while you're not really doing stuff that's super far off from any other mission, the random layouts and the added challenge of trying to get around these tunnels makes these missions especially interesting and tense. And pretty much everything added with this update is welcome, except the dragon roaches, which are a massive pain to deal with that basically require you to have some kind of fire protection. Now, for as much as the game has improved over the last year, it is still suffering from some issues. Stability is a major problem that needs to be addressed. It seems like performance in general has been getting way worse with every patch. The game's file size is way too big these days. It's bloated to 141 gigabytes. It's nearly as big as Baldur's Gate 3, which seems super excessive for the amount of stuff that's actually in the game versus what's in that game. The developers do seem to be aware of that problem, and they do say they intend to address the file size problem in the future, as well as work on overall stability. If they can get these two problems in check, Helldivers 2 is pretty much a perfect game. And the game's not a bad place right now, it just needs a little TLC. I know the game is made by a small-ish team for this size of a game anyway, and that it's a game that's not expected to go on forever. You buy it, you play it for a while, and then you move on. But there's a reason there's so many unlockables that are just less of a grind. It's honestly pretty easy to unlock everything you want for a while, and then you move on. But there's a reason there's so many unlockables that are just less of a grind. It's honestly pretty easy to unlock everything you want now in Helldivers 2, in stark comparison to a lot of other online games where unlocking anything is like pulling teeth. Helldivers 2 is about having fun and not getting in your way too much, which it would pull off with flying colors if not for some persistent glitches that have plagued the game from launch, and of course the performance issues. The core here is just so good and satisfying, it's a shame that for some players, Helldivers 2 is practically unplayable. Performance is far from the only problem it's dealt with in its short lifespan. As you know, there's a whole PSN requirement snafu that not even Arrowhead, the developers, were happy about. For a little while, the biggest complaints from fans were that it felt like the devs were nerfing everything to make the game harder, which eventually led to a concerted effort for around 60 days where Arrowhead put out constant game balance updates to try to get the game to a place that everyone was satisfied with. And they're still making balance changes today, some good, some bad, but overall I think they've managed to course correct after straying a little too far from where it started in terms of difficulty. The game has gotten pretty tough, at least in the Hive World missions, but that comes from the mission design and the new enemies, and not from your guns feeling intentionally underpowered. Balance in the game is still a constant battle, but it does seem like we've chilled out a little bit lately. It's just a co-op game, so the balance shouldn't matter that much, but I do get that the devs don't.
Rated M for mature. Rated M for mature. Rated M for mature.
want everyone just using the same high-tier weapons for absolutely everything. They want people using different things for different situations. If their goal was for people to start changing around their loadout more, they succeeded with the new update, because just using the standard weapons and stratagems, it's just not as useful here. So they've added a fair amount to Helldivers over the past year and change, but is it really a completely different game? Well, the new Delve missions definitely feel different, and they give the missions a sort of Deep Rock Galactic vibe, but I know we kind of started off saying things were majorly different, and in a lot of ways they are, but by nature kind of started off saying things were majorly different, and in a lot of ways they've been significant. Stratagems, and each of the 3 alien armies have been expanded on significantly with new enemy types, feel completely distinct mission types that encourage you to dig needs. I would say Arrowhead is not Helldivers. They're not that big. And some people might say they should have taken advantage of the game's viral popularity and massively scaled up their operations so they could crank out updates at the speed of something like Fortnite. It's probably a lot safer not to do that in terms of the game's longevity and whatever comes next. And whether it is or isn't, they didn't do that. So updates are just slower. I'd like to see more things happen in the Galactic War as well. They were doing some interesting things there for a while, but it felt like they've been autopilot on that stuff, unless some major update comes along to shake things up. Those are minor complaints, though, because Helldivers 2 is an excellent game, and it's in a pretty solid place right now. At this rate, I'm not sure how long the developers intend to support it, but I hope they keep big updates like the Into the Unjust one coming for at least a few years. If that happens, just imagine how different Helldivers 2 is going to look in another 2 or 3 years. By then, it might really be a completely different game. At least now in 2025, it's mostly the same Helldivers 2 we know and love, just with some pretty significant updates and upgrades that definitely bring overall improvement to the experience.
Helldivers' best update yet, baby! Whoa! But not everybody out there feels the same. Fact is, I can absolutely see how some people would be really frustrated with this new update. But goddamn, do I love it!
No, yeah, I'm pleased with this. This is a good update.
It's doubled down on everything we love about Helldivers, like its sheer cinematic spectacle. Oh shit! Holy shit!
That thing is big.
The unbridled, unrivaled chaos that no other game on the market can even come close to delivering. Oh no! Oh my god!
I would ask if you're okay, but I think I know the answer.
I've never felt more alive. And its brutal, unforgiving difficulty has finally returned. Oh no! Yeah, the technical issues are pretty bad, but I've been lucky enough to not really have experienced any. So what's new here?
Helldivers will, for the first time, take the battle to our enemies' homes. They will go deep into the gloom, into the Terminids' home worlds, their hive worlds, to uncover their mysteries.
Oh yeah, the new planet is atmospheric, with doom glooming around every corner. It feels like we've entered into a world where we truly do not belong.
Oh wait, that's kind of cool. Like, remember, this used to be a humanity planet, so these are just like skeletons of people that died here before it was terraformed.
Cool. But it also provides a different flavor of gameplay altogether. You see, on most maps, there's all sorts of mountains, caverns, and all manner of things to run through or use to funnel the Terminids into. But here, there's plenty of spots where the map is pretty much wide open. There are far less environmental items to use as a funnel, so it gives you this feeling of constantly being swarmed and surrounded. Add on to that the fact that you sometimes can't even dive because the water is too deep in some parts. Can't dive in water! And this whole new environment gives me the feeling of being completely out of my element. I don't know what to do.
Leave.
And I feel overwhelmed. Oh my god, I'm just panicked.
Don't panic, Ren. Remember your training.
And I love that. I feel like it forces me to be extra mindful of the environment and kind of create a brand new skill set for a game that I've already sunk quite a few hours into. Because up until this point, I kind of felt like I had seen just about everything this game had.